I'm sounding the alarm again. I'm sounding the alarm. President Trump just said that the trade war between the US and Mexico is now being implemented, and it actually means that you will not find flights from Mexico to America. Let's get into this. Yahoo News just published this article and I read it and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to alert the family here. I need to let y'all know that the lockdown is happening, but it's not happening all at once. It's happening in phases. It's happening quietly. It's happening behind the scenes. It's trade wars and this closure and that. But listen, it's happening nonetheless. The global skies are changing, and listen, it is not for the better. In a bold move, echoing growing tensions around global movement, President Donald Trump's administration announced new restrictions on Mexican flights today, July 20th, threatening to unravel a key airline alliance with Delta and Aeromexico. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy cited violations of the U.S.-Mexico Aviation Treaty after Mexico forced airlines to reroute from the established Benito Juarez International Airport to the newer Felipe Angeles Airport, over 30 miles away. America first means fighting for fairness, said Duffy. This should be a warning to any nation attempting to exploit the U.S. carriers or our market. What? But listen, this is not just about flights. This is about a broader pattern that includes bank account freezers, embassy closures, and regulatory shifts happening in real time to control your movement under the guise of trade or security. So let's talk about this pattern. We talked about how one of the routes is going to be extinguished or suspended from New York to France through one of the Nord Airways, okay? And that's just the first one. If you are not in the know, Singapore has also dropped their airlines to the US. Actually, it has decreased 30% since April 25. Singapore to America Airways have decreased 30%, and Singapore cited ongoing route optimization, okay? But insiders point to pressure from Washington over crypto policy non-alignment. Listen, this is a silent lockdown, not by force, but by logistics, legal bottlenecks, and bureaucratic delay. So let's talk about why this matters for you, especially if you are a business owner, you work online, you have your businesses online, or maybe you have some type of international business going on. You are going to see reduced access to home countries. As routes close or become more expensive, expats may find it harder to return for emergencies, renew documents, or manage properties. This is a very real scenario. This is something that you need to plan for. And this is why I'm so honored and privileged to be able to share this information, because I'm like, why is nobody talking about this? Like, hello, do y'all see what's happening? Especially if you are an expat, meaning if you choose the wrong country, you may be stranded. Because listen, them downsizing those Mexico airlines is obviously going to affect Americans that are in Mexico, Americans that have residency there, that maybe have some type of digital nomad situation down there in Mexico. And although Mexico isn't far away from the US, you don't want to run into those kind of tensions when you don't have to. I'm gonna need you to hit the like button if I'm sharing something that you have not heard yet, or I'm the first one reporting on this. Hit the like button. I'm gonna give you like 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, because listen, you're also going to see an increased political risk. Many of these changes are not publicly cleared. You find out when your flight is canceled or your card is declined. Financial weaponization. Just like travel, banking is now under review as well. U.S. citizens living abroad have reported their EU bank accounts being frozen, U.S. embassies no longer offering notary or passport services, and crypto transfers being flagged or reversed. You know, we actually have clients that are coming to us telling us, hey, my bank keeps putting me in the fraud system 5 times in a span of a month. Somebody else came to us. One of our contractors said, hey, some of my accounts are getting shut down. This is real life. And you're not going to necessarily find this on Google because these are people's real life scenarios that are expats. And so you have to be in the know. We have a very, very large spanning expat community across more than one continent, like 1, 2, 3, 4 continents at the very least. Okay. But get this Singapore situation is actually super alarming because for a long time, Singapore was seen as a safe place to invest, a safe place to visit, a place where you had a bit of stability in the economy and geopolitics. But now their flights to America are thinning out. And I'm going to repeat this just so you get it again. 30% down. Flights to Singapore are down 30%. Since April 2025, somebody put in the comments, this is not fear mongering. This is laws that are being passed. This is international foreign policy. This is you seeing the writing on the wall. Oh, Americans are going to be locked down in America. Meaning the place that you are in right now, the region you are in, unless it is Africa or the Mediterranean, you have a very big risk of being locked down there for quite a while. They're not going to broadcast this on CNN. They're just going to do what President Trump just did and say, look, we're not sending no more airways to Mexico. Y'all not finna come here and we're not about to go there. You know, and the wall that they built near Mexico, you start to think, you know, wasn't Trump wanting that wall right on the Mexican border? And you just wonder, was that to keep people out? Or was that to keep Americans from leaving? Because the numbers say it all. In 2024 and 2025, large amounts of Americans have been going to Mexico. Let's run those numbers. Listen to this. Fox Houston 26 has it, okay? This date is February 21st, 2025. The U.S. State Department reports that 1.6 million U.S. citizens currently live in Mexico, okay? Now think about this. Let's think about this in patterns. I want y'all to think. Somebody chime in if you're in Mexico. But let's just think about this for a moment. They're seeing all these people flee across the border. Americans going to Mexico. They don't like the administration. They don't like the high cost of living. They know that they're doing stuff that's kind of finicky, off the chain. They like, I don't really trust this. And so 1.6 million Americans are in Mexico. And then Trump puts out an order like this and says that he is going to stop flights from America to Mexico and Mexico to America, citing the trade war. So he is leveraging this trade war as a scapegoat to say, you know what? We're not doing flights over there. We're not going to do flights over there. No more flights over in that country either, unless you abide by our policies. This trade war is basically a mass weapon of manipulation that America gets to use to say, hey, we're going to stop all the flights over that way. But I can't help but think this isn't going to hurt Mexico as much as he might want it. You know, I can't help but think that it doesn't really hurt Africa to have this 36 country travel ban, right? It more so hurts people who are trying to get to these countries. It more so hurts people that are like, hey, I want some type of freedom, some type of sovereignty, even though I'm an American. I want to get out. Now let's fly back to Mexico for a moment. I'm reading from ABC7. I typically don't just look at Western news sources, but I think this one is doing pretty good reporting in this case. All Mexican passenger, cargo, and charter airlines will now be required to submit their schedules to the Transportation Department and seek government approval of their flights until Duffy is satisfied with the way Mexico is treating U.S. airlines. It's not immediately clear how Duffy's actions might affect the broader trade war with Mexico and negotiations over tariffs. A spokesperson from Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum didn't reply immediately for a request to comment either. Sheinbaum didn't mention the new restrictions during either of her two speaking events on Saturday. But listen, Delta and Aeromexico have been fighting the Transportation Department's efforts to end their partnership that began in 2016. The airlines have argued that it's not fair to punish them for Mexican government's actions, and they said ending their agreement would jeopardize, get this, hold up. I want you to guess who it's going to jeopardize, how much money, how many people. And then you let me know if you call that a lockdown or no. You let me know in the comments. Listen, nearly 24 routes, at least 24 different routes, and 800 million in benefit to both countries' economies that comes from tourism spending and jobs. Now listen to the statement from Delta. The U.S. Department of Transportation's tentative proposal to terminate its approval of the strategic and pro-competitive partnership between Delta and Aeromexico would cause significant harm to consumers traveling between the U.S. and Mexico, as well as U.S. jobs, communities, and trans-border competition. This is what Delta said in a statement. I don't think they like the fact, and y'all know the day I'm talking about, the West. They don't like the fact that a lot of you Americans are going to Mexico. A lot of you have got residency. A lot of you are living it up down there. They're like, you know what? We're going to use the trade war as a scapegoat. But listen, y'all not finna go down to Mexico anymore. This is why I said we need to see these patterns. I'm so honored to be serving you with this information because look, according to Eyewitness News, ABC 7 in LA, these flights being redirected or rescheduled or canceled altogether will prompt 140,000 American tourists and 90,000 Mexican tourists not to visit the other country and hurt the economies of both countries with the loss of their spending. Now, let's think about this. This is due to the trade war. They said this is a trade war violation, okay? So what happens when they say, oh, Ethiopia violated the trade war? Oh, Angola violated the trade war. Oh, Ghana violated. Oh, you know what? Cambodia violated the trade. Oh, what? Dubai just violated the trade war, right? We need to think about these patterns. We need to synthesize this information and come to a bit of understanding and discernment and have some urgency in our spirits, right? I remember during C-119, we were the only ones in the airport in Columbus, Ohio, flying out to get to Tanzania. We were the only ones in the airport. My family and I, people had masks. We were not wearing them, obviously. We were not going to wear that. We knew it was a trap from the very beginning. Didn't get the thing. Y'all know what I'm talking about. But it's happening again on a different level. These lockdowns are going to come in phases because guess what? You've just been locked down out of Mexico. So you're like, okay, Tiffy G, but what can I do? Stay informed. Don't rely on just mainstream news sites. Follow channels like Journey With Us for raw expat-centered insights, freedom-based insights, insights from people who live an organic life and want you to do the same. Diversify your routes and residencies. If you have Mexican residency, you may consider coming towards Africa or the Mediterranean. We've been saying it for over 5 years. For us, specifically, we don't see South America as being much separate than North America. Okay, so when we think about traveling abroad, we want to be somewhere that is either Africa or the Mediterranean. That is it. Now, we have family that's traveled to Thailand. We have people that have traveled to Thailand. That's fantastic. That's great. That's, far enough away that you can kind of get your networks, your systems together over there. But for our family, like what I would advise my children, I have a teenage son. What I would advise him is he is growing up, stay in Africa or stay near the Mediterranean. And so I give you the same advice. Don't depend on one country or even residency. We have obviously U.S. passports and have residency here in Southeastern Africa. You can have multiple residencies. We have another friend who isn't a client, but this is a friend who actually got their premium digital nomad visa in just 72 hours. But people say it's impossible. I mean, you need to get in the right community. Obviously, we're doing something right on this side of the internet where you can get your digital nomad, self-employed entrepreneur visas. They got these all over, maybe I'll do a separate video or a members only video to discuss all the regions that have digital nomad visas because people seem to be unaware that this is a thing, that there are countries that want to welcome you as an American, especially if you work online, especially if you own a business that functions internationally, okay? That's how we got ours. And lastly, you want to go explore Africa visa-free zones, more nomad programs, residency options, and the intensive, our 90-minute session called The State of the Diaspora. We are actually teaching it like today okay? The 9th edition. And I think the slots are all filled out. I'm so sorry. Check the link in the description. If they are filled up, I'll look at my calendar and see what I can do. We're booked out until, mid-August. I'll see what I can do. I'll really see. Leave a comment down below if I should look at my calendar, because if you don't want me to, I won't. But let me know if you want me to look at my calendar and see what I can do, and see if we're willing to do like another Thursday or something like that, because all of the states of the diaspora sessions have been booked out in totality. Clients come in like, yep, I'm on the way. Yep, I'm going. Yep. If you see the writing on the wall, leave an emoji down below. All praises, all glory to the Most High. I pray that the scales fall off of your eyes. I pray that you are able to get out of the west if the Most High is drawing you to do that. And y'all stay aware. Stay in understanding. Start to discern what's happening. In the next video, maybe we'll talk about crypto and finance. Shalom, shalom. I'll see you next time.